Welcome back, everyone, to the HNL Movement Podcast. This is going to be an exciting episode, and today we have no other than Harrison Kuroda coming on the podcast. So much great experiences to share here. A lot of things with baseball, of course, but even beyond strength and conditioning and all of that. But thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. This kind of stuff is always really fun. Get to talk story about things that I'm interested in, things that we're interested in. So it'll be just a good conversation.
Yes. And thanks for making the time too, because you just came from analyzing or being the color commentary last night for baseball. And then now I think you got to go work with clients after this. So thanks so much for making some time. But let's start with, let's just briefly go over your story, because I think everyone's story or their experiences kind of lead into what they're doing today, right?
100%.
And for you, I think that's 100% true, that all of the things that you have to go through your career, that is what's shaping kind of what services you offer to the kids and the youth, right, that you're coaching. So briefly talk about, growing up, what sports did you play and kind of how you got into baseball?
Well, I think like you, right, it's that we kind of come from the generation of like everybody played AYSO soccer, everybody played Little League baseball, Pop Warner football. So for me, it was soccer and baseball just because those are the two sports, when we were young that they didn't really coincide with each other. So that was my kind of foray into baseball. And then, Japanese kid from Aiea. It's like, that's very stereotypical thing you do.
Yeah, baseball. So when you were growing up, I'm assuming you started both at a young age, most people do. But did you have a favorite, like when you're kind of just trying these sports out?
My favorite was potluck. And I knew both sports had potluck after. So I'm like, I'm into potluck, man. Yeah. To be honest, like, I don't think I was, remarkably good at baseball or at soccer. I think from 6 till 11, I was just I kind of just participated. I had no like real barometer on like how good I was at anything. I liked hanging out with my friends. I liked competing. So so it wasn't until about like 12 where baseball kind of started to like take precedent over soccer. I started at mid-pack shortly thereafter, and so and then at 12, 13, I kind of figured out, hey, I'm pretty good at throwing a ball. So I knew baseball was big at mid-pack. And so I kind of felt like that's when I got a little more serious about, pitching and stuff like that. So
when we're the same age, actually, full disclosure. But, I'm thinking when I grew up too, there wasn't too many like private instruction and all of this kind of stuff. So even thinking about when you first started getting a little bit more serious about baseball, right? Was there anything that you did on the side, or was it mostly just go with team practice?
I think we're kind of lucky, right? We're both 90s kids. After school would come home and the Braves were always on. And thankfully in the 90s, the Braves they had really, really good pitching. They had, Tommy Glavine, Greg Maddux, John Smoltz. Just that entire rotation was real super high level, all Hall of Famers. So that was kind of my first what are these guys doing? Because I guess these guys are supposed to be really good. Yeah. So it was real easy to just kind of turn on TBS and watch the Braves. Yeah. And pretty much every day you're watching the Braves. They were a pretty good pitcher going on. So that's what kind of started it for me. Like you said, there wasn't a lot of private instruction stuff. If anything, it was very informal on the side with somebody's uncle or somebody's whoever. But that was kind of something that I felt like I could have really benefited from, as a younger kid.
Yeah. I feel like everyone that I talk to, right, it's like, oh man, if we had some of these services when we were younger, right? But at the same time, you just need to go through these experiences, I think, and then just grow as whatever your path is, right? But thinking back to soccer and baseball, well, first, what positions did you play growing up? Did you kind of just, as a little kid play everywhere?
I played wherever. I was always that kid until 12 years old that was taller than everybody. So I played first base. Baseball-wise, I was the goalie for soccer. But I always pitched. When I did start pitching at 9 or 10, I was awful. There was a rule. Like, my dad was my coach, and there was a rule where he said, if you bean two guys, you're out. I'm going to automatically take you out of the game because, if you're a coach of a little league team and you have a pitcher on the mound that's just plunking everybody on the other team, it's like, oh my goodness, you feel bad. So I think that was part of that, but that two bean batter rule kind of forced me to throw strikes and kind of learned how to do that a little, but I wasn't very good.
I think we all can relate to that, right? So
Yeah.
you know when you were pitching at that young age too, right? Little league. Were you someone that could always throw pretty hard, or that you thought,
Yeah.
and that's why you could develop into a pitcher early on?
Yeah, I knew I could throw the ball farther than everybody. I could throw the ball faster than everybody. So like I always kind of knew that was like my standout thing. Like I couldn't field. I was an awful defender. Like fly balls, forget it.
Yeah.
But I knew I could throw. And I think from a fairly early age, what I did learn, and I don't know why, and if I'm trying to figure it out now, but I felt like I understood the concept of leveraging my back leg against the ground
Yeah.
to propel a ball.
Even before you knew what that intellectually was.
I just knew, I don't know, it just, to me, it was something that felt like, okay, if I want to throw the ball far, like, I can't just use my upper body, right? Like, I just, like, I see pictures and I see video of myself from when I was that young. I was like, oh, my back leg is actually pretty good. Yeah. So, but I mean, that was basically it. So, but I think just eventually that really kind of turned the corner for me as far as like being able to apply a force onto a ball.
Yes. Thinking back, and just because you say that, the first thing that I think of is, do you think soccer helped that at all?
No,
it was just naturally you felt that I need to push off to generate that lower body power. Yeah,
it was that. And then I think it was just being able to like figure out like, okay, in my head, right, I'm thinking I'm standing on a hill with a little plastic or rubber slab on it. Like, how do I position my foot against this thing? Or how do I like position my foot on this little hill to like create downhill force? And so again, like, I don't know why that connected in my brain, but I just kind of remember like, oh yeah, just do this.
Do you think you were always kind of technical to get you were just trying to throw gas?
Yeah, I mean, like,
I got it.
I was just like, if my mentality as a 10 to 12-year-old is basically the same mentality that big leaguers have now, it's just grip it and rip it. Didn't really pan out a lot, but for me, that's something that I wasn't very technical at all.
Got it. Just throw. I mean, that's good. Just keep it simple, right, for a kid, and then just try to throw. But I know we're gonna touch on this. All of the technique that you try to impart on the younger kids and how you break down things. We'll kind of get to that in a little later. But it's interesting to hear kind of how that developed.